Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning to everyone. I will continue presenting the next maxim, which is maxim 19. Need, general or specific is treated like necessity. This maxim is the continuation of maxim 15, which is hardship begets facility. Need and necessity are the key concept that consider the legality of concession, rukhsah, and facility in Sharia. Alright. We're gonna move on to the explanation of the maxim. Okay, need or hajah refer to maslahah whose fulfillment contribute to relieving hardship in people's life. Need only arise when people's life become difficult. Necessity, also known as darurah, defined as the class of interest upon which people's life depend. If not realized, then chaos will happen. Now, darurah is on another level than hajah, and hajah is only complementary to the darurah. Okay. This maxim denotes that pressing need involving nation as a whole, such as industrial and business needs, or involving certain groups such as traders and manufacturers, or individual can effect changes in Sharia ruling. Alright. There are two types of hajah, which is general hajah and specific hajah. Okay, general hajah grants more freedom to use concession than specific hajah. It is not necessary for people to demonstrate individual needs to benefit Sharia concession on the basis of general hajah. And this concession granted by specific text with unrestricted word. Example of general hajah is ijarah. Ijarah is a sale of usufruct that is not exist at the time of the contract. It is not permitted on the basis of general hajah. And then we have specific hajah, which is more restrictive than general hajah. Concession on the basis of specific hajah can only be used in a state of actual need. In the case of when people really need it only. And the concession on the basis of specific hajah use general text. The example of specific hajah is during the state of ihram, during haji. Normally, using sewn clothes are not permitted, but it is allowed in very cold weather when the weather cannot bear the cold. However, the weather need to sacrifice animal as the expiation. Okay. Difference between hajah and darurah. The failure of hajah will not result in destruction, and meanwhile, the negligence of darurah will result in destruction. Hajah makes it permissible to override secondary prohibition, while darurah make it possible to override primary prohibition. Secondary prohibition is the thing that is prohibited to prevent the occurrence of primary prohibition. Then what is primary prohibition? Primary prohibition is the things that is prohibited for its own sake. The example of secondary prohibition is when a doctor have to see the aura of opposite gender to give them medication. And the example of primary prohibition is sin, a clear-cut sin, such as zina, or seeing the aura of specific gender. Okay, the concession brought into effect by general hajah is permanent, while the concession brought into effect by darurah is only temporary. Only when the need has realized. The indicator for applying specific hajah requires ijtihad, as it based on the general ruling of Sharia, while the indicator for applying darurah is clear-cut, as it is based on the specific ruling of the Sharia. And there is no restriction for those availing concession caused by general hajah. And there's also For darurah, it is restricted to the person undergoing certain circumstances. We're gonna move on to the authority of the Maxim. The evidence for hardship begets facility also supports the validity of this Maxim. The evidence, other evidence that we can derive to support this Maxim is a hadith from Sahih al-Bukhari, which is Allah Messenger, peace be upon him, prohibited men from wearing silk. However, he granted concession to some of his companions to wear silk when they suffer from scabies. Also from Sahih al-Bukhari, the Prophet, peace be upon him, prohibited people to sell things that they did not possess, but permitted salam contract with condition that the commodity should be in specific volume or specific weight to be delivered on specific dates. Okay. We're gonna see the application of the Maxim in fiqh. Okay, if a man hears adhan and has property that he cannot bring into the mosque, such as his belonging, he is allowed to forego the congregational prayer to protect his property. Okay, the second example is riba al-fad is forbidden in Islam to block the means to riba jahiliyah. Riba al-fad means the unequal exchange of commodities of same genus, and riba al-jahiliyah means interest charged on debt, which means that riba al-jahiliyah is a lot worse than riba al-fad. Riba al-fad is permitted when the need arises. An example that we can see here is during the exchange of fresh dates and dried dates. Since the subject matter in this contract is ribawi item, it can be exchanged on spot basis and equal quantity. Since equality is not realized in this case, which is different genus, fresh dates and dried dates, the element of riba al-fad is present. But due to poor people's need for fresh dates, the Prophet SAW legitimate the contract. The third example that we can see is that scholars that prohibited photos based on hadith that prohibit the fashioning of image allow photograph of people for purpose of public needs. Okay. We're gonna continue with the application of the Maxim in Islamic finance. The first one is istisna. Istisna is a contractual agreement with manufacturer to produce specific items with specific descriptions at a determined price. According to Sharia, the subject matter should exist when the contract is concluded. Jurists has unanimously permitted istisna as an exemption to general rule on the basis of widespread need. The second is stock screening process. In current business environment nowadays, it is really impossible to find 100% compliant companies to invest in. So scholars has limits the percentage of business activity that are prohibited up only to 5%, including gambling, pork, and conventional banking. The third one is loans. European Council for Fatwa and Research issued a ruling permitting Muslims living in Western nations to purchase house by conventional loans if there is no Islamic financing available. Okay, that's it from me. Thank you so much and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.